Imagine this. You stand at the altar, heart pounding, palms slick with sweat, as the love of your life floats toward you in white silk. The air hums with whispered promises, forever, devotion, unity. But beneath the surface, something darker stirs. A question, unspoken yet deafening. What if this is not a union, but a surrender? Marriage, as sold to men, is the ultimate act of love, a sacred bond. Yet beneath the poetry lies a paradox. Why do so many men, years later, wake up hollow-eyed, trapped in a life they no longer recognize? Why does the weight of their vows feel less like devotion and more like chains? Consider the unspoken contract. A man is told to provide, protect, sacrifice, to carve his identity into the shape of a husband. But what does he receive in return? Love, yes, but love laced with conditions. Love that demands his labor, his silence, his very soul. The modern wife claims equality, yet the scaffolding of marriage remains unchanged. His worth measured in paychecks, his desires buried under obligations. Is this partnership or predation in slow motion? Think deeper. When a woman says, "I do," she gains security, status, a legacy. When a man says it, he signs a silent pact. Your life is no longer yours. His dreams become negotiable. His freedom, conditional. His mistakes, unforgivable. The courtroom smiles as it dismantles him. Society nods as it calls this justice. And here's the cruelest twist. She may not even realize she's doing it. This is the trap, not built by malice, but by centuries of conditioning. A trap so subtle, so romanticized, that to question it is heresy. But ask yourself, if marriage were truly mutual, why does it so often leave men emptier than before? Why does the weight of its expectations fall so unevenly? The answer lies in the shadows, in the unexamined forces that shape love, power, and identity. But to see them, you must first dare to look. And that is where the real awakening begins. The trap does not begin at the altar, it begins in the mind. Long before a man kneels with a ring, he has been conditioned to see marriage as the pinnacle of his existence, the final proof of his worth. But why? Friedrich Nietzsche warned of slave morality, a system where the weak invert values to control the strong. In modern love, this plays out in silence. A man is taught that his desires, freedom, ambition, even lust, are flaws to be tamed, while a woman's expectations are sacred. He must want marriage, or he is defective. He must need commitment, or he is immature. The very language of love is weaponized against him. Carl Jung understood the power of archetypes, the provider, the protector, the husband, roles that cage a man's true self. These are not natural instincts, but societal scripts. A man who resists is shamed. A man who complies is trained. And the cruelest trick? The system convinces women, too, that this is just how love works. Arthur Schopenhauer saw love as nature's deception, a biological illusion that tricks men into servitude for the sake of reproduction. But modernity has twisted this further. Now, marriage is no longer just about children. It is a labyrinth of emotional labor, financial obligation, and silent resentment. A man gives his body to work, his mind to compromise, his soul to a contract that can be shredded at her whim. Jean-Paul Sartre wrote, "Hell is other people, but perhaps hell is the unspoken expectations buried in a wedding vow. The way a man must shrink himself to fit into the role of husband, while she is free to expand, demand, redefine the terms at any moment. The imbalance is not accidental, it is engineered. And so the trap tightens, not with malice, but with the gentle, suffocating pressure of this is just how it is. But what if it isn't? The next layer is even darker, because the consequences of this illusion are not just personal. They shape the very fabric of society, of masculinity, of what it means to be a man. And that is where the real damage begins. The fallout of this silent contract extends far beyond individual lives. It warps the very fabric of masculinity. A generation of men, raised on fairy tales of love and devotion, now wander in quiet disillusionment. They were promised purpose, but what they received was a cage. Cognitive science reveals a brutal truth. The human brain is wired to seek fairness. When a man gives more than he receives, his subconscious registers the imbalance as injustice. Yet society dismisses his discontent as selfishness. You should be happy to provide, they say. Real men sacrifice. And so he swallows his resentment, not realizing it will metastasize into midlife crisis, into emotional withdrawal, into the 1,000-yard stare of a man who no longer recognizes himself. Cultural conditioning compounds the damage. From childhood, boys are fed myths of heroic responsibility, be the rock, the shield, the unbreakable one. But when a man actually becomes these things, he is no longer seen as human. He is a utility. His pain is invisible, his needs negotiable. The moment he stumbles, the system turns on him. Divorce courts empty his pockets. Society labels him deadbeat or absentee, never questioning why he might have fled a structure designed to drain him. Even worse, the erosion of male purpose. Viktor Frankl taught that meaning is essential to survival, yet modern marriage often strips men of theirs. His ambitions must now align with the family's needs. His passions are frivolous unless they monetize. He is no longer an individual, he is a function. And when a man feels expendable, something in him breaks. The most sinister consequence, though, is the normalization of this erosion. Like frogs in boiling water, men are conditioned to accept their slow dissolution as natural. They joke about the old ball and chain because the alternative, admitting they've been betrayed by the one institution they were told would fulfill them, is too painful to face. But pain denied does not disappear. It festers, it explodes, and that explosion is coming unless men wake up to the truth. The question is no longer why this is happening, but what can be done about it. The answer lies not in rejection, but in rebellion, a radical reimagining of what love and partnership truly be. The first step is the hardest, recognizing the cage exists. Most men never do. They mistake their chains for honor, their servitude for love. But you are not most men. You see the illusion. Now it's time to shatter it. Rebellion does not mean swearing off love or commitment. It means refusing to accept a system that demands your surrender. Friedrich Nietzsche's revaluation of all values applies here. Question every assumption you've been fed about marriage. Why must you propose? Why must you pay? Why is your happiness always secondary? The moment you challenge these norms, the illusion weakens. History offers blueprints for defiance. The Stoics, Marcus Aurelius, Epictetus, taught that freedom comes from mastering what you can control: your mind, your boundaries, your self-worth. Apply this ruthlessly. Love should expand your life, not diminish it. If a relationship requires your disintegration, it is not love, it is colonization. Next, reclaim your sovereignty. Arthur Schopenhauer was right. Most people are trapped in a pendulum between pain and boredom. But the free man, he designs his own existence. He chooses partners who uplift, not exploit. He negotiates terms before vows are exchanged, not out of cynicism, but mutual respect. He understands that love, at its highest form, is a voluntary union, not a life sentence. The most radical act? Walking away from women who see you as a utility. The modern world shames men for this commitment phobia. Immature, selfish. Let them. The alternative is far worse. A slow death of the soul. But rebellion is not just rejection, it's reconstruction. Build a life so compelling that marriage is an option, not an obligation. Cultivate purpose outside of romantic validation. Money, fitness, philosophy, brotherhood. These are the pillars no court can take from you. The system will resist. Women will panic. Society will sneer. Good. That's how you know it's working. Now, the final question remains. What comes after freedom? The answer is the ultimate truth, one that will redefine everything you thought you knew about love, power, and the meaning of being a man. Here it is, the revelation that changes everything. Marriage was never the trap. Your belief in it was. The true prison was the delusion that love required your diminishment. That sacrifice equaled virtue. That your worth depended on a role, a title, a signature on a contract. But love, real love, does not demand your surrender. It demands your fullness. The ancient Greeks had two words for love: eros, passion, and agape, selfless devotion. Modern marriage sold you a lie that these must coexist in one person forever. But the Stoics knew better. No single bond should hold the power to define or destroy you. A man who centers his entire existence on a relationship has already lost because he has made himself dependent. The ultimate truth is this: you were never meant to be a husband first. You are meant to be a man. A man who loves freely, not fearfully. A man who commits from abundance, not desperation. A man who understands that the deepest romance begins with unshakable self-possession. This is the paradigm shift that liberates you. Love is not something you earn through sacrifice. It is something you attract through strength. When you refuse to kneel, you meet others who stand tall. When you reject the script, you write your own. And here's the most beautiful irony. When men operate from this truth, women respond differently. Not because you've manipulated the game, but because you've transcended it. The energy of a man who cannot be enslaved is irresistible. So let them call you selfish. Let them fear your autonomy. While they cling to their chains, you will be elsewhere, free, awake, and finally alive. The choice was always yours. Now you know. What will you do with it? Here's what they never told you. The deepest prison isn't marriage itself. It's the yearning for it. The biological programming that whispers you're incomplete without this is the real trap. Once you see this, everything changes. Evolution doesn't care about your happiness. It cares about survival. Your ancestors were selected for their willingness to chain themselves to responsibility. But you live in an age where that programming has become obsolete, even dangerous. The system keeps it alive because controlled men build stable societies, but stability isn't freedom. The ultimate truth is paradoxical. The moment you stop needing marriage is the moment you become capable of truly choosing it. Not from fear, not from obligation, but from genuine desire. This is what Nietzsche meant by becoming the Bermensch, the man who creates his own values. For him, marriage isn't a trap or salvation. It's simply an option, weighed against all others without cultural baggage. Consider this. Every great civilization rose on the backs of men who sacrificed and fell when those men woke up empty. Rome didn't collapse from external threats, but from men who lost the will to maintain it. Today's marriage crisis isn't destruction. It's the inevitable result of men realizing the deal was rigged. But here's the secret they're terrified you'll discover. You hold all the power, not in dominating women, but in walking away from bad deals. Not in rejecting love, but in defining it on your terms. When enough men do this, the entire system must adapt or collapse. The final realization? You were never trapped by women or laws. You were trapped by your own belief that this was the only path. Now you know better. So go, build, explore, love fiercely, but never needfully. Let them call you names while they cling to sinking ships. The future belongs to free men. Will you join them?